Okay, we are back for another quick interview at the NIADA 2024 Expo. And we have another one of our founding sponsors here who just swung by to say hey. And so we asked if wanted to come up and be a part of the recordings and the
Happy
broadcast.
to have Tim Lawrence come to the microphones, and with LHPH Capital out of San Diego. You want to give our listeners who are not familiar a little bit of history about LHPH Capital?
Yeah, absolutely. Although I do want to add that I always like hanging out with Jim and Michelle.
No.
Oh, good. Points noted.
Well, and I honestly can't say it enough that the laugh that you have, Michelle,
Oh.
We
is
hear
just
that.
so infectious
Oh,
and
thank
endearing.
you.
Yeah. So whenever I'm listening to the podcast in the morning, it's the laugh that's just
Oh,
That's why I
it
follow
warms
her
into my
around.
day. Yeah.
that's why it's like, honey, tell me a joke.
Yeah. Oh,
Right. Any way to invoke the laugh.
Thank
Yeah.
you.
Nice.
Thank you. It's fun.
That's good.
Yeah.
We have a good time.
Yeah. So LHPH Capital started as LHPH originally in 2010, 11 timeframe. And the concept was really trying to bring in-house leasing to dealers that wanted to either start from scratch or make the conversion. And it was a consulting basis. So it was trying to get all the different factors in place to be able to help a dealer put that program into place. And then around the 2016 timeframe, the owner, Terry Bowdler, realized that, okay, this is okay, but really the biggest challenge is capital for dealers being able to implement these programs. And so we made a pivot in early 2017 to be if we could, the premier capital provider of lease here, pay here. And what we ended up doing originally was trying to provide as much educational content as we could as the pathway to be able to then be the capital provider.
Yeah.
And so if you look at our website, that's why we
Lots of
have
education.
so much content,
Yeah.
probably too much content, if you can have too much content.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as it's well organized and people can just find what they want to find too, it's like have it all. Have it all. Because, when there's more, then the off things that people have questions about, they're going to find the answer there. So I really respect that because we work really hard to try to create as much educational content as we possibly can. And it's all about just turn on the recorder and take the thing and turn it into something that someone can learn from easily. So yes, thank you for that.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
And I can say that, in my years around the industry, which is now 20 plus, I can say obviously capital is in demand. You talked about it was evident that there was a need when you started. Now I would say the need is the same or more in terms of the demand for capital. And while we see a number of players in the traditional retail installment contracted as buy here, pay here, we see fewer in the leasing side. And so you guys have stepped in to fill an important solution there. So talk to us about how the capital program works over there.
Yeah, so our capital program is pretty simple. The way that we fund on a transaction is that we finance the cost of the vehicle plus reconditioning. And it's not dissimilar to some of the other providers, except that we target each vehicle independently. And so we'll create a amortizing loan on that vehicle that pays principal and interest back to us at the same term as the lease contract. And that creates a payment spread for the dealer customer between the lessee payment that's coming in and the payment that's then coming to us as the lender. And that's the operating cash flow. So we have that as program A. And then we also do a little bit of the traditional borrowing based structure as part of it, depending on what's the right fit for the dealer.
Yeah.
Yeah. I chose not to call Tim out in the session. I noticed that he was sitting in our session today on the exit ramp conversation.
Guys,
But I
Jim's like,
know that-
come move forward, everyone.
Yeah.
And everyone got up and moved forward.
right.
I saw that. Yeah.
But I know that among the things that made me think of you as the conversation went that direction was this idea of the 3 C's in capital or whatever. That's something I've heard you and I've talked about that in the past. So I'd like for you to go back and share kind of your company's background with ethics. I know Mr. Bowdler's history. You've shared some of that with us. So maybe just go back as far as you'd like. We have plenty of time here. Just share with us kind of the ethics track of what your company has been through and Mr. Bowdler's history.
So it is really important to us. And when we established our founding values, our core values as a company, it ended up being quite a bit around ethics. So we have 5 core values: grateful, respectful, innovative, trustworthy and transparent. And with the
It's-
acronym of
there's
GRIT.
a lot of things that, yeah, I love it, but there's a lot of things there that are very similar to what we have for, yes, White Hat Way.
Exactly. And it almost bookends. So innovation is in the middle, and on the outskirts are a lot of those
Transparency,
ethical
yes.
components. And I think the idea is really that we want to treat our not just our customers, our borrowers, but all of the stakeholders. So the end consumer, the dealers that we're lending to. We borrow from lenders, the different industry affiliates, our ownership. We want everybody to share in that sort of clarity and transparency and have trust. And not only that, but just we want to make sure that we're providing a product that gets the response of being like, wow, we're grateful that we get to work with LHPH. And same for me. I want to be in a posture of I'm grateful that I get to work with the people that I get to work with,
Yeah.
and the dealers. And if you're a dealer borrower and you land really high in the category of character, then it goes even further
Yeah.
for us when it gets to the tougher decisions of,
Yeah.
is this a dealer that we want to increase our line with and our exposure with?
Right.
Well, we have extended that trust in the past, and we feel like we can extend it even more to be able to help facilitate not only their growth as the dealer borrower, but the success of their dealership, which then really impacts all of their staff and team members and their families. And so the stakeholder conversation really ends up expanding out pretty broadly.
Yeah.
And then there's a greater responsibility for us in what we're doing.
Sure.
We had the opportunity last year at the LHPH LHPH Summit, to sit down with Terry and spend a little bit of time talking to him directly about his background and his why. And I have to say, just really, really impressed with that gentleman, very much so. And it, you know, we frequently talk about culture starts from the top, and it's after having had the opportunity to talk to him for a while, knowing you as well, who is part of that top down of culture. It makes a lot of sense that the folks that we've had to work with at LHPH Capital are amazing, and they're kind, and they're fun to work with, and they just
Well, except Trevor. I mean, Trevor's kind of a problem.
well, he has a
Trevor,
little bit of
the
a
worst.
yeah.
People can
He's a
tell Trevor's close
troublemaker.
by. so
Trevor
that
is
will-
actually almost next to us, which
Yeah.
is why he's getting.
No, it's obviously been great to work with.
But-
And she's right. The culture piece is significant. I want
It
to
is.
circle back to the thing about character, because I'm curious to know, we know that lenders in particular like to see character in their borrowers. And I'm wondering, you know, your borrower is a used car dealer, right? And so I'm curious to know, like, what do you identify in and we're just recording here, right? So
Yeah.
this is us talking. right?
Just a recording.
Yeah. So a few
Casual
thousand people in the expo
conversation.
hall.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But no, just share with us, like, what do you identify as character in a used car dealer?
You know, the character conversation is interesting because I feel like for us, it's evolved. The earlier parts of the character that we were looking for were, okay, is there a peer recommendation? Are they around in the conferences? Can other people endorse them? Are they in the 20 groups?
Good.
And those are all really important things, I think. And then it comes down to the other things of are they telling us what's going on in their business accurately? And I think those things are great, and you see them all up front. The evolution part is what happens when times are a little bit harder, and
Yeah.
how does the character of the dealer borrower really come out? And it actually goes both ways, because it's how does our character come out in those harder times
Right.
too.
Yeah.
And given, you know, the economic environments are much harder now, and so there are harder conversations, and there's more challenging aspects in the lender borrower relationship. And so we've seen in some instances where we thought the character was okay, and we have not had any trouble from original high character that like rank really high. Feel like we've always judged that really well, but it's like we think the character is fine, and that's, you know, we've checked the box. And in the tougher times, we've seen some,
Puts it to the test.
and it's
Yeah.
failed and crashed and burned in some ways, which is really discouraging.
Right.
And I think that's why lenders end up having those knee-jerk reactions, because you extend the trust and you feel like the character's there. And when it's not, it's surprising, and then it's like being a little bit suspicious sometimes. Like,
Yeah.
do you have the character? We thought you did. Do you?
Maybe take a look
Right.
at your list again.
Right? Yeah.
Adam.
Yeah.
Well, and that's actually one of the things with White Hat Way, that as we develop a certification program and those kind of things, that not just that they're getting education at the conferences, you know that they're not just getting education from their 20 groups or things like that, but they're also getting an education around ethics and
Principles. Sure.
principles and connecting with your customers and being an active participant in your community.
And I think what we're trying to illustrate with that is that it's not that we don't meet dealers that have character and principles. One of the things we look to do is help them through education, help them understand the value in that. Is having, one, telling that story, two, seeing the benefit in our buy here, pay here, and lease here, pay here space, this idea that when we take good care of the customer and we think long term, this can be the benefit, this can be the benefit. And so just helping them connect the dots on, lean into that character, tell your story, let your community get to know you. Right. So this is part of what we expect.
And
to do as a community.
it's interesting when you have that kind of relationship, you have it with the dealer has it with the customer, that there's a lot more grace all around.
Right.
There
And-
100%
yeah.
is. And I think there's this hidden C in character that we don't always identify, and it's courage, because it takes a lot of courage in those tougher moments to really lean into your character. And it's so much easier to flee
Right.
and take the easier path, but it takes courage to have the harder conversations, whether it's with your team member or your peer or your lender, to say,
Yeah.
gosh, here's what's actually going on under the
Yeah.
hood,
Yeah.
and it's
Yeah.
not as good as I was thinking.
Sure.
I'm an optimist, or a Pollyanna. Those of it dates me, I understand, but I'm an optimist, and I really do believe that people are good, and sometimes they don't know how to show they're being good, and they don't have the skill set to have the hard conversations. And so that's something else, that it comes with experience, and it also comes with teaching and training. And I know from just personal experience, the first time you have those hard conversations, they suck. The next time you have to have a hard conversation with someone, it's easier. It's you still are doing it with grace and generosity and kindness and all of that, but it's you've already experienced what happens on the other side, and so there's not as much fear about having those kind of conversations. So yes, courage is a big part of that.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think stepping into that, and we all know we've been in that place where we have to have an uncomfortable
Oh my
conversation.
goodness.
right?
We do that every week.
Right. Yeah. For sure.
We're
It's
pros.
Sunday night at 7.
Yeah.
We should record it, Eddie.
Yeah. So it's so interesting. In the session today, we talked about the 3 C's, which are common in the lending space, and then we added culture, and we added compliance.
Compliance was one that,
And now we got
yeah.
courage. So it's
Yeah.
just another
We're
element.
like going to have 17 C's by the time we're
Yeah.
done, but that's
I have
okay.
some C's to add for you.
Oh.
Yeah, you ready for?
Yes.
There's chemistry also.
Ooh.
Oh,
Because
yeah, of
chemistry
course. I
is
like
really
that.
good. Chemistry is part of the relationship that
sense.
you either have with
Right.
industry affiliates, your
Yeah,
team
it's
members,
true.
Wait,
and
I thought chemistry started with a K.
He doesn't spell well.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm trouble. I thought you knew I was trouble. So no, that's important. The chemistry
Chemistry.
element is
Yep.
Throw another
and,
one at me.
And competency. I think competency is really important
How
too.
do you-
So competency, it depends what category we're looking at.
Okay.
C for category.
So it's like I'm really competent in a kitchen cooking. But
But
does that make me competent,
are you
under the
confident
hood
in
of
your
a car?
or in your financial statements that you're
Exactly.
providing to
Yeah.
your lender?
Okay.
Are you competent collector? I mean, how many C's can we throw out there?
Yeah.
Oh, there's so many more.
Yeah.
That's it.
I think
That's
for me-
episode 7. Okay.
This is like a game that we play with my daughters where we just start saying all the words we can that start with C.
There you
Yeah,
go.
right. Yeah.
Very
No,
good.
I think
Very
the other
good.
thing we see in competency, like for me as a consultant analyst who works with a lot of dealers, we urge dealers to get more familiar with their numbers and their metrics. We want them to know their numbers,
Oh,
get
yeah.
really, because, in its simplest form, dealers want to show up and they want to buy cars and sell cars and collect car payments, right? Or lease cars. And so then the question becomes, okay, so in order to really be effective in managing our business, we've got to get familiar with these other metrics so that we're running our business and our business isn't running us. It's kind of the thing that as an analyst advisor is something that we see with dealers. And we're happy to help them. They first have to admit it and be coachable, and we'll help them, figure out what those pieces are.
Coachable.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah.
There's
Yeah,
another
one.
C.
Look at that.
You said
Coachable.
17, so I think
Yeah.
we're
But
at
we
like
have
11.
a few more. I mean,
I
well,
think
we have
we
a
have
few more
6 to go.
days.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, tomorrow and Thursday.
Yeah, no, it's all good. So yeah, I think we wanted to have a chance to share a little bit more about, your background with White Hat Way too. You guys stepped in right away as a founding
Yes.
sponsor. We're grateful for that because what that does is help us go tell the story, reach more people to be able to, one, showcase what it looks like to be a dealer of character, a dealer who's solid in their community, right? So,
And it helps to have vendors of character
Right.
that are saying, we love what you're doing. And just even having that support is just, it's high value. And so we just really, really appreciate that.
Yeah, immediately we were happy to jump on board because it aligns with our values and aligns with what we want in not just industry partners, but with our borrowers, of course. But it's also it was really cool to be at the pioneering standpoint too. Like
Yeah.
this is it's a novel concept to promote this way, and if we can be aligned with it in a way that broadcasts across the space, we're happy to do it.
Yeah, good.
Love that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
you.
And I can say you were a party to a recent email thread that was an example of one of the things that I feel like the White Hat Way, by being,
Yeah.
it's not about Jim, it's not about Michelle, it's about this
It's a
thing that we point
movement.
to that is like, look, can we just illustrate what it looks like to be transparent? It's one thing to say the word.
Yep.
It's another thing to go and show what transparency really looks like. And so you saw the thread that was in the context of DMS. We proposed to the DMS
Really
provider.
exciting.
Would you please provide this for our dealer users? Even if we don't know them, let's provide this because we think back to the metrics. It's going to be easier for them to manage their business. They're going to be more successful when we provide this for them. So this is, I think, a voice that you can expect to see White Hat Way will continue to
Well,
be.
and the reports are being named White Hat reports. Yes.
And we
so-
appreciate you guys adding your voice to those initiatives, right?
Yes.
It's just a way for us to all say, look, we're
It's
just trying to do a
exciting
good
to
thing.
see it start to gain some momentum.
Yeah, yeah.
And
Okay,
that's-
wait, back
okay,
up because
wait.
this was cool. The email that you guys sent out with the DMS stuff, I was thrilled. As soon as I read it, I wanted to wait and see what is going to happen with this email, and I was thrilled to see Jonathan Hetty jump in right away and say, "Hey, we would love to participate.
Yep.
Totally
Yeah.
open
Yep.
book."
Good.
I thought that was phenomenal.
We have others you didn't see in the thread. We have about 3 or 4 that stepped in right away and said,
Yeah.
yes, we want to be a part of that.
Yep.
And so that's a really positive example of what we can do together because it really is, it's a collective effort. We're just trying to make sure that this thing that we talk about is like, when we rally around that thing, we can really make a big difference.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Well, and DMS systems in some way are kind of like the restaurants that are all in the same shopping center. They're not the right fit for every
Everybody.
single person, right? So, but
I
some
think
of
I
them are
want an
really.
egg roll and a pizza slice.
But
and
for
some-
some people,
yeah.
it's gonna make more sense
Yes.
to be with one versus another based off of how the chemistry that they have
Yeah.
with whoever the DMS provider is,
Yes.
how they feel like the functionality works with them,
Yes.
what their actual business needs.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's okay to have it all together. And same with lenders. We're not the right fit for everybody, and
Right.
same.
Yeah. And so we know
Yeah,
that.
you probably couldn't handle if you had every lease here, pay here dealer on the planet or in the
Don't look at
States.
Trevor. He's like nodding,
Not-
probably
he's like,
nodding
we-
his
I
head.
think
He's
we
like,
can
of
do
course
We'll
we
figure
can.
it out. Yeah,
Of course we can.
we can hire some people. There's a lot of people in California. We'll hire a lot of people. Yeah.
Trevor's like, I'm sorry, I walked over here with you.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. No, it's,
Very good.
it is an important thing. We think that example again about the DMS is like we expect, because it was proposed that we would go forward with a forum where we can, and what we pledged right away is we'll be happy to facilitate and host the forum, and we will pledge to make sure it is a level playing
Yeah.
field,
Yeah.
and that it will benefit dealers, right? And
Yep.
so,
So
we-
be watching for that on Buy Here Pay Here Nation Television, with White Hat Way being the one that's presenting this entire broadcast and forum. So it's going to be amazing.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Looking
And I can
forward to
say,
it.
as a former dealer, talking to a lender to dealers, that dealers have a difficult job, and we want to do anything we can to make their job easier, so that they can be more successful, their customer can be more successful, their lender can be more successful. All of those relationships can benefit in a
Everything
white hat
rises.
environment.
Yeah.
And so we're just going to continue to beat that drum.
Yep.
You know?
Thank you
I'm
for
pleased to have you
beating
be
it
part
with
of
us. The drum.
Yeah. So yeah, thanks for making time to come and chat. And we want to make sure folks know where to find LHPH Capital in the exhibit hall, the expo hall.
Yonder.
Yeah, over there.
Yeah,
Yep.
On
we
that side.
sent out, did you see that we sent out to social media? It's like, here are our founding sponsors.
Where you find
Swing
the
by and
people.
see them while
That's
you're here.
awesome.
So yes, thank you
Because
for
they're-
wearing your badge too.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
There's
Appreciate it.
very cool buttons that say White House or White
White
Hat
Hat
Way on them. So if you want to stop by our booth or some of the other founding sponsors and
Yeah.
wear them with pride, you're welcome to.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Well,
Thank
thanks
you,
for
thank you,
helping
thank
to
you.
spread the message, and we know
Appreciate
you
you
guys
joining.
align with those things
Yeah.
that are White Hat Way.
And we'll get Trevor on next time.
Yeah, next time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Thanks
Thank
so
you
much
so
for
much.
joining
Thanks,
us.
guys.
Appreciate it.